hear live.
Oh, is this thing on? I don't care. I want him to hear.
This is the Pregame Show, your early morning shot of sports on 95.7 The Game. Come on!
Oh, hello. It is the Pregame Show. I'm your host, Joe Spadoni. As the great Steve Stone, voice extraordinaire for 95.7 The Game, just reiterated there. Welcome in, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls. You got me for the next hour. If you're just getting off work, getting ready for work, getting ready for school, getting ready for some football, man. God, I can smell it. Yeah, I can smell it. And I already, hey, I got a schnoz, all right? I'm a super smeller. If that was a superpower for me, if you just looked at me, you'd feel like, man, that guy could probably smell really well just looking at me. He also probably makes a mean pepperoni pizza. I do, on both fronts. And my allergies are all good right now, but I can smell football in the air. And that is what we're going to be talking about today. Because we got college football approaching. We got NFL football approaching. We got flag football controversy. Controversy. That's not a word. Controversy happening with the Olympics. Now everyone's like, oh, I don't know. NFL Players Association. I don't know if I want them playing flag football. Well, all I know is our national flag football team, on the men's side at least, lost to Japan. And if we're going to consider this our favorite sport in this country that we care about the most, that can't happen. It's one thing if we lose in soccer worldwide, because that's not our main focus here in this country. We like it when the World Cup comes around, when Copa America comes around, we like it. And obviously, we're going to be much more excited now with the addition of the U.S. men's national team head coach, Mauricio Pochettino. I say it in Italian because it's an Italian name, but he's from Argentina. So I'm all on board with Mo. That's my nickname for him, Big Mo. But I wanted to start today with some of the expectations for some of these 49ers as we're approaching a couple weeks to go, less than 3 weeks now until Monday Night Football, in which the New York Jets and Aaron Rodgers and Quinnen Williams and Robert Saleh and Sauce Gardner, Garrett Wilson, all those guys will be coming to Levi's Stadium. Will Brandon Ayuk be there for the 49ers? Will Trent Williams be there for the 49ers? Will Ricky Pearsall be suited up for that? There's still question marks abound. As much as there's question marks for the New York Jets, there's just as many for the San Francisco 49ers. At least right now. Now, expectations-wise, I expect the Jets to be a dumpster fire because that's just how they work and how they operate. I expect the 49ers to right the ship and get to the playoffs. And then once they're in there, they're a very difficult out. They are never one and done. They are not two and done. They get to the NFC Championship when they get there. That is the expectation still in Santa Clara. But with expectations comes the burden of pressure. And pressure is a privilege, of course. But you also start to see the effects of when you do get deep into a season, time after time after time again. The wear and tear is real. And we're seeing that with Christian McCaffrey. We've seen it in the past with Deebo Samuel, who's healthy right now, looks great, according to all reports in camp. We've seen it in the past with Fred Warner, George Kittle, all these guys that have climbed that mountaintop only to fall back down again. And when you fall back down off that mountain, you get scrapes and bruises. That's just what happens. I'm not a rock climber. I've watched some National Geographic, so I think I could probably do it. I've seen people do it, so I can probably do it. I'm one of those, if I wanted to. Not like I have an extreme fear of heights or anything like that. By the way, when I visited the Grand Canyon, you don't realize just how grand that sucker is and how high up you are. Boy, almost got vertigo up there. Heights, not great for you, boy. Probably one of my biggest fears. That's okay. I'm not going to be doing any base jumping anytime soon. No, that's not my scene. What is my scene, though, is talking about Christian McCaffrey and the amazing season that he had last year. It was an MVP caliber season. We don't give MVPs to the running backs anymore. And if we were going to, it probably should have been Christian McCaffrey last year. I mean, the last one to get it was Adrian Peterson back in 2012. And that feels like forever ago, because it was. Now it's Tom Brady's when he was here. It's Patrick Mahomes. It's Aaron Rodgers. It's all these guys. Just not running backs. And he had such an amazing season. Offensive player of the year, right? I'm just going to go to all the stats right now because it was insane what he did last year. There we go. So here's what Christian McCaffrey did last year for the San Francisco 49ers. Just rushing. 272 carries, damn near 1,500 yards, averaged 5.4 yards a carry, 14 touchdowns. Lost 2 fumbles, though. It's tough. In the receiving, 67 receptions, 564 yards, averaging 8.4 yards per reception, 7 touchdowns. So 21 total touchdowns and 2,000 all-purpose yards, basically. It's an elite season. He was the best running back in football. He is what makes this offense special. I love Kittle. I love Debo. I love Ayuk. I'm happy with Brock Purdy. But Christian McCaffrey is the most special talent on the team, and I don't even think it's close.
I am happy with Brock Purdy.
Monte, you don't have to convince me, man. I know you. I know.
I'm happy with Brock Purdy.
Okay.
I'm actually excited about the Giants.
Huge win last night. Huge over the Chicago White Sox. God, that team sucks. That's just all I kept thinking about. I was just looking, and we'll get back to football. It's just, good God. I'm so sorry, White Sox fans. At least you guys have a stadium and you're staying near a city, though. So you can hang your hat on that.
Yay!
But what Christian McCaffrey, as we get back to football, did last year was special. Now, can he do it again? Well, he's dealing with the calf strain. That concerns me. For a guy that, has struggled to stay healthy throughout his career, games played last year. And let me just go throughout his career. Games played. Starting back in 2017 when he was drafted to the Carolina Panthers. 16. Okay, good. 2018, played 16 games. 2019, played 16 games. 2020, 3 games played. 2021, 7. 2022, 6. 2022 with San Francisco, 11. So he played a full season there in 2022. And then 2023, he played 16, sat out the last game of the year. Okay. So last 2 seasons, he's been healthy. But if I'm just going through a trend, maybe he's got one more year, or maybe this is the year as he's getting older where he's got to battle some stuff. And we're already seeing it in camp. And what I'm trying to get at here is, if I don't get those Christian McCaffrey, if I don't get double-digit gains from Christian McCaffrey, at least, this team is going to struggle. And it's not going to be a Super Bowl contender. Matt Breida, love you. Elijah Mitchell, love you. Jordan Mason, love you. You're not Christian McCaffrey. You're just not. You're not what he is in the passing game, in the run game, in the blocking game, which I think is tremendously underrated. He's the best running back in football, and to expect him to be that year in and year out, and you're paying him like it because you just paid him more this year. But at the same time, I'm a little nervous about CMC this year. And if you disagree with me on that, 888-957-9570, that's just fine. Something with Cavs in the Bay Area got me a little nervous. Go back to Kevin Durant, go back to Dre Greenlaw. I'm sure there was others. Scares me. Here's Bijan Robinson. Tremendous talent. Atlanta Falcons, second year. Was very hyped up last year, had flashes of greatness. He was on with the Up and Adams podcast with Kay Adams. And here's who he models his game after.
Out there, you're going to run, you're going to catch the ball. The Christian McCaffrey thing has been said. It's been done.
Christian McCaffrey thing, yeah.
What do you make about that?
Yeah, I mean, I wasn't trying to, like, compare or nothing, but I was just saying, like, you know, how we're similar, you know, in what we do on the field. And, I mean, with this offense and what Zach's doing and, you know, how I can contribute, I'm ready for whatever he has for me. But I'm excited, though, because everybody's about to, like, get the shine that I know I've been praying for. So it's gonna be a fun ride to do it with them dudes.
You got some prime time. You got all this action. I was talking to your coach about you, and I also heard you on the radio say that you watched like every Christian McCaffrey, everything from last year.
Sure did.
But I didn't hear you say what you learned. What did you pick up from watching all that?
Yeah, I mean, when I watch like other backs, you know, I'd be trying to like emulate what they do, and not like mock and copy, but like just try to like pick something up.
Like all the best.
Yeah. And I learned like with Christian, obviously like the offense that he runs and the offense that he's in, and just like how he just hits the hole and his patience, and then even on like running option routes and stuff, how he gets open and how he just like anticipates what the defender's gonna do. So like those little things is what I picked up, but. I mean, I'm trying to like do all that in my game too, so you know other guys can watch, you know how I go about it, and just you know how he inspires me.
It's great. He's an inspiration. We love Christian McCaffrey. He's amazing. I also want to limit these touches. I mean, we were just talking about right there. Bijan Robinson's a spry young man. Christian McCaffrey is 28. All right, just turned 28 back on June 7th. My cousin's birthday. Cousin Johnny. I need to limit the touches this year and ensure that Christian McCaffrey is good to go when it's nut up or shut up time. Come playoffs, come to the fight for the playoffs. I need to limit this guy's touches because if Christian McCaffrey doesn't replicate what he did last year in San Francisco, or at least get close to it, then you can start saying, all right, this team's not winning the Super Bowl. He is that important to that offense and to Brock Purdy, quite frankly. And here's Kyle Shanahan, a couple days before Christian McCaffrey's birthday, actually on my birthday, June 4th, talking about the need to limit Christian's touches.
I mean, I don't think it always needs to be that case with all the runs. Like we got guys that can run the ball and stuff. We got to protect Christian from himself. He doesn't like to ever come out, no matter what the situation is, and I do think that's something we could protect him with more. When you are such a threat in the pass game, it's a little bit different, you know, and that's when you get touches from a running back. A lot of times you're the last choice, just everyone's deep and you throw it to a check down. So like halfbacks can get 6 targets in a game without one play called for them, just because they're on checkdowns a lot. And so how do we feel about those touches? Man, I'm glad he was out there for that checkdown. That means no one's around and he's getting up the field and he's as good of a threat on a checkdown as there can be. But if he's just taking the wear and tear with 20 carries and stuff every game, and he's definitely good enough to do that, and he's proved he can stay healthy, but you'd like to take some of that off of him and give it to other guys also.
So I guess my question here at 888-957-9570, and that was Kyle Shanahan back on June 4th, talking about Christian McCaffrey's touches and trying to limit them. Is there a scenario in which Christian McCaffrey takes a slight step back this season? Because he set the bar so high last year, and the 49ers can be better? Or does he have to replicate what he did last season for this team to get back to a Super Bowl? Because if we're all in agreement that he is the best offensive player talent-wise and he makes everything go, and I understand he's not the quarterback, that's Brock Purdy, but he is one of 2 guys probably outside of the quarterback. If you lose, it'll affect betting lines. You lose Christian McCaffrey, and I love Elijah Mitchell, I love Jordan Mason. They don't do what he does. Trent Williams is the other guy, obviously. You lose him, good luck. Good luck, as I do my taken. So 888-957-9570. I want to hear from you, Niners fans. Your expectations for Christian McCaffrey this upcoming season. You expecting more of the same? You expecting some step back? And your expectations for the team overall. That's what I want to know. We're getting a couple weeks. We're less than 3 weeks away from opening day. I want to start diving into some of these players. It's never too early. I feel like we've been very quiet on Christian McCaffrey because we've been so engrossed in Brandon Ayuk and those contract talks. We've been so enthralled with Trent Williams and co, right? We need to focus on the guys that are going to be also key contributors to this offense. The Kittles, the Debos. Yes, we talked about a lot Brock Purdy. We get that. But Christian McCaffrey was the best offensive player. And he got the award for it anyways. The offensive player of the year. And good morning to all you on Twitch, Twitter, and YouTube, powered by First NorCal Credit Union. Go ahead and search 95.7 The Game on any of those platforms. Like and subscribe. We would greatly appreciate it. You can also give me a follow on Twitter, X, whatever you want to call it, at Spadoni_Joe. I'm almost at 900, guys. Come on. I can get a couple of you to follow. Come on. Give me a follow, an Aaron a follow. We need it. I know that's not his last name, but I can give myself a 4 there at 5:16 a.m. on the pregame show, Joe Spadoni. I want to get some of this sound, too. This was Bill Belichick, and I want to say I can't wait to hear from some legends this year when it comes to broadcasting. We were talking about how excited we were for college. I'm so excited about NFL and college analysis because not only do we have Bill Belichick on the NFL side breaking stuff down, we've got Nick Saban on College Game Day now. No nonsense, Nick Saban. Let's go. So we got quite possibly the two greatest coaches in the history of their respected sports, college football and NFL football, breaking down the game this year. And I don't know if they're going to be good at it. But this Belichick sound, I was impressed by. I've heard Nick Saban, he was doing draft coverage. Very impressed. The two players I think that he said gave him the most nightmares last season, the last couple of years, was Malik Neighbors, LSU, and Brock Bowers, Georgia. So I'm going to be looking at those guys this year. And obviously they're both first-round picks, top 15 picks. A lot of big things expected from both of those guys. Maybe one more than the other, but those are kind of scaring me if I'm a fantasy owner because you're relying on either Gardner Minshew, Aiden O'Connell, or Daniel Jones. So here's what Bill Belichick had to say. And he touched on a lot of different topics here, but I do want to hear his thoughts on a multitude of things. So let's start with helps to have a quarterback that makes sure there's no issues. And I think this is very important. And I think this is one of the things that we cannot continue to highlight enough when it comes to guys like Brock Purdy. Take a listen.
Again, I think when you start at the top with a guy like Mahomes or a guy like Brady who do everything to make sure that there's no issues with their contract, then that makes it, a little bit easier with everybody else. And everybody else can, respect the overall team concept and the team goals. Not saying they want to play for nothing. That's not the point, but to try to find some way to compromise to work it out. When Mahomes is out there working out hard and Brady's out there working, the other players, they want to be out there with him working too. And I'd say usually it's a better solution when the quarterback's not part of the problem.
It's a great point. And we're going to see come next year if Brock Purdy is going to be like Tom Brady and like Patrick Mahomes. Now, Patrick Mahomes was the highest paid NFL player in NFL history. I mean, the guy got broken off $500 million. And he's going to get every single one of those pennies, those shekels. And quite honestly, when is that deal up? Because I feel like he's about to get another he's going to get like $1 billion when it's all said and done in salary. I feel like he's going to be that guy. He's going to be the first to have consecutive $500+ million contracts. I just see his game aging that well. Now, he said in the past, he doesn't know if he has that drive like Tom Brady. He doesn't know if he wants to play until he's older. I just know he can. Just given his game, I saw him being slightly lesser than he was in years past last year in the regular season. He was still better than everyone else. The guy's just that good. But when it comes to salary and it comes to distractions, will Brock Purdy be one next year? That's a time and a discussion for another place. But we're seeing how much of a distraction it is this year with Brandon Ayuk and Trent Williams. And we'll see if that lingers on throughout the season. And if it does, how much effect does that have? And does that make the 49ers realize, you know what, maybe we should just jump out in front of this thing as soon as possible when we can at the end of the season, get into those contract negotiations with Brock and his agent and get this thing done. I think that's going to happen, but we'll see. A lot of question marks on the 49ers this season to see if they can get back to the promised land, because, God, it is hard. And the league just got better. The NFC has just gotten better. Quarterback play has just gotten better everywhere else, which makes it a lot harder. Oh, and by the way, the Kansas City Chiefs, they're better too. The team that's won back-to-back Super Bowls and is going to try to three-peat. So buckle up, football fans. This is going to be a wild season in the NFL and college football. I feel like we say that every year, but this one feels like it's going to be an absolute freaking gauntlet. I can't wait. I'm excited. I hope you can hear the smile on my face right now. That is what I'm trying to convey. Here's more from Belichick talking about, we're talking about quarterbacks and just talking about how each player in team situation when it comes to this kind of holdout stuff is different.
I think every situation is different. Every team is different. And I think ultimately the team has to decide what they're comfortable with and what they're not. I think the Cincinnati situation is interesting. Higgins came in there, signed his tender right away, basically said, hey, I'm playing football. I'm going to go out there and have a good year. And Jamar didn't take that same, approach. Similar situations. I don't think there's any cookie cutter deal here. Each guy and each agent has their own, strategy for what they think is best for them and their player.
It is interesting to look at that. And T. Higgins is not the player that Jamar Chase is. He's really good. He's not great like Jamar Chase, though. And Jamar knows that. And I think T. Higgins knows that. I think Brandon Ayuk is better than T. Higgins. Brandon Ayuk knows that. He's holding out. T. Higgins, I think, sees the writing on the wall when it comes to his time in Cincinnati. Realized he wasn't getting traded. Going to try to ball out this year and sign a contract elsewhere after this season. But would I begrudge a guy like T. Higgins, who's, I would consider a top 10 wide receiver? Again, very good. Top 25? Probably. But would I begrudge him if he wanted to, hold out? No, that's his right. I just think he'd be very disappointed in what would be the return. And I think he realized that. I think his agent realized that. And he's like, you know what? Best course of action, sell myself to the rest of the league this year. Hey, if Jamar's not going to be there week one, more targets for your boy. Or that means more double teams. But you get what I'm saying. Holdouts, man. It's just, when are these things going to end? CeeDee Lamb, Jamar Chase, Brandon Ayuk, Trent Williams. It's a lot. It's a lot. And here's Bill Belichick again. This is via Pat McAfee, ESPN. I can't get enough of the hoodie. I can't get enough of Nick Saban when he's going to be talking some college football this year. Here's Bill talking about players using injuries as a cover to hold out. Now remember, this is what Kyle Shanahan, and I'll play the Shanahan cut first. This is from last week, and he had a little back and forth with Mike Silver. Here's what he had to say about the hold-in and the injuries and all that sort of stuff.
I think it has to do with when they have injuries and stuff, so I don't sit there and kind of play that game. That's how the league works right now. That's how the rules are. You have a hold-in, guys usually have something wrong with them, so they can keep doing that, and so I just coach the team.
I want to make sure I understand. Are you saying if there's a hold-in and you force the issue that you would expect like a Jalen Ramsey in Jacksonville type of situation where, oh, my back hurts and I'm just not playing?
I'm just saying when you guys call it a hold-in, and I'm not disagreeing with you guys on that, but people say that they're hurt. I think BA's got a sore back right now, and it is what it is.
Sore back. You probably got out of bed the wrong way, and, that happens sometimes when you get a little older. It sucks.
I broke my back.
Spinal. Here's Bill Belichick talking about those types of situations.
Over the last couple of years, and then this year, a little bit more of it. I think that's a combination of some of the agents. There's certain agents that, have that kind of hold-in strategy. The hold-in strategy now, because of how much the players are getting fined for not being in training camp, $30,000 a day, whatever it is, that if they miss preseason games, if they're not in camp, then those are game checks. So the players are coming in and they're saying, they have an injury, sore back, hamstring, ankle, whatever it is. And so they're, effectively using an injury to take themselves out.
It's this part of the game, man. It's just, it is what it is. I know I use that saying a lot, and I even hate it, but I'm using it. It just, don't hate the player, hate the game. When it comes to all these contract negotiations, you can choose to hate the player if you want. You'll just You won't get anywhere from that. I've been in this situation too. I remember when Khalil Mack was holding out with the Raiders, one of the Raiders to pay him. They didn't. They traded him. You try to rationalize it as a fan. You do. It's like, oh, we get all these picks and we're not going to be hamstrung by this other guy. I was like, no, you traded away a Hall of Fame player. That's what you did. A guy that was all pro at 2 different positions. And your team's going to be worse. And they were a dumpster fire ever since. Yeah, they had the playoff appearance, but they've had 4 different head coaches if you're including interim. It's been bad. It's not good when you do something like that. A.J. Brown to the Eagles. They went right to the Super Bowl. They're going to be a perennial playoff contender. Fine with the Titans. No Derrick Henry. No A.J. Brown. Trayvon Burks. DeAndre Hopkins, who's a shell of himself now. You got Will Levis doing mayonnaise commercials with the mayonnaise cologne. By the way, it just sounds... And I like mayonnaise on my sandwiches. I'm more of an aioli guy myself, which is... I'm not hating on mayonnaise, but why? Why? And there is no better product for a guy like Will Levis. You just look at him. He does look like he is lathered in mayonnaise constantly. He's very fair. It's just hey, if he's getting those checks from Hellman's, though, or Best Foods, right? Not mad at the guy. Not mad. All right, we're up against it. We're going to take a quick break. Come on back. More of your calls, more of your texts. Your expectations for Christian McCaffrey this upcoming season. Are you a little worried about the calf strain? Is he going to replicate what he did last year? Can he be even better? Is that possible? And if he's not, what does that mean for this 49ers team? Do they need another offensive player of the year type of season from Christian McCaffrey, especially if you're going to lose out on Brandon Ayuk? I want to hear from that, plus more Belichick. Plus, I want to get to what Tua Tagovailoa said on the Dan Le Batard show yesterday in regards to coaching and coaching, styles and preferences. I thought it was very fascinating. Plus, we'll get and touch on a little bit of the Giants as they get the win over the Chicago White Sox yesterday. Final score 5-3. That's all coming up next on the pregame show. Joe Spadoni, 95.7 The Game.
Ready to take your business to the next level? In today's fast-paced marketing world,
You're listening to the pregame show with Joe Spadoni right here on 95.7 The Game.
Move on, Joe. Whoa!
We're always moving on, brother. 1 segment down, 2 more to go. Joe Spadoni in here. Let's keep it rolling, baby. I'm talking Christian McCaffrey, your expectations for him this upcoming season. 888-957-9570. Zucci Maine, 510. You think there are 25 very good receivers in the league? I think if you are a top 25 receiver, Zucci Maine, and you're referencing T. Higgins, if you're a top 25 receiver, you are automatically very good. There are, I believe, 10 great receivers. And then above that, there are like all-time. So I'm talking Devontae's all-time, Justin Jefferson. I believe he will be all-time. It's early. I'm projecting that still. But that's how I feel. Tyreek Hill, all-time. Brandon Ayuk, great. Top 10. A.J. Brown, great. Top 10. You want to go Jamar Chase, great. Top 10. But I'm reserving the all-time still. And maybe Jamar Chase can vault himself into that. But right now, it's currently Devontae, Tyreek, and who did I just miss? I just said him. Justin Jefferson. So that's what I would clarify there as very good receivers. I think there are a lot of very good receivers. I just think we are at such an offensive explosion right now in the NFL. You can look up and down in roster and be impressed with someone. Even the Carolina Panthers. I'm interested to see what Xavier Leggett can do this year. I'm interested. You go to the Cleveland Browns. Amari Cooper. We were just talking about how we can switch Amari Cooper for Brandon Ayuk and maybe not skip a beat. The guy's good. Should I put a CeeDee Lamb in that, special category? Maybe. Again, great. It's great. I wanted him so bad coming out of Oklahoma on my team. So bad. You want Henry Ruggs instead. See how that played out. Tragedy galore. All right. We were talking about expectations of 49ers players, and we started today with Christian McCaffrey. And his expectations when he was drafted into the league, right? We saw him at Stanford, and he just was put into a great position on that Carolina Panthers squad when he had Greg Olsen, when he had Cam Newton. You had a plethora of weapons, and that was a very fun team. It was. It was Christian, 2017, right? So he was a couple years after that Super Bowl 50 team that played the Denver Broncos. Rookie season, flashed a little bit. But then his sophomore season, it was just like, whoa, we got a 1,000 guy here. And in his third season, he did that with 1,000 rushing yards and 1,000 receiving yards. He's that dude. We saw that very early on. And then after that season, though, in which he had those 1,000, got hurt a lot. Couldn't suit up. Carolina Panthers ended up getting dog doo-doo. Weren't very good. And the 49ers made the savvy trade for him, and it changed everything. Got to the NFC Championship, got to a Super Bowl, and they were an overtime period away from winning that. And maybe if Christian McCaffrey doesn't fumble the ball in the first possession, just saying. It wasn't the best for a lot of the guys that you expected the best from. Although Christian McCaffrey ended up having a pretty good Super Bowl, but that fumble really tough. It's tough to shake that, and I'm sure Christian will kick himself forever for that. That's just the name of the game. But it matters, what I'm trying to say is where you are selected. And for early on in his career, Carolina was the perfect place. You can't say that for everybody, though. And I wanted to play this sound real quick. It's Tua Tagovailoa, who has been just a lightning rod when it comes to, is he elite? Is he not? Is he a product of the offense? It's very Jimmy Garoppolo-esque, but the problem is Tua was a top 10 pick out of Alabama. Hell, top 5, right? Number 5 overall, and then Herbert was after him to the Chargers. Here's Tua on the Dan Le Batard show yesterday talking about the difference between coaches, Brian Flores and Mike McDaniel, former 49ers offensive coordinator.
To put it in simplest terms, if you woke up every morning and I told you you suck at what you did, that you don't belong doing what you do, that you shouldn't be here, that this guy should be here, that you haven't earned this right, and then you have somebody else come in and tell you, dude, you are the best fit for this. Like, you are accurate, you are the best whatever, you are this, you are that. Like, how would it make you feel listening to one or the other? You see what I'm saying? And then you hear it, regardless of what it is, the good or the bad, and you hear it more and more, you start to actually believe that. I don't care who you are. You could be the president of the United States. You have a terrible person that's telling you things that you don't want to hear, or that you probably shouldn't be hearing. You're going to start to believe that about yourself. And so that's sort of like what ended up happening. And it was, I mean, it's basically been, 2 years of training that out of not just me, but, a couple of the guys as well that have been here since my rookie year all the way till now.
It's a very fine line when it comes to coaching and knowing your players and knowing your personnel. And we just heard from Belichick last segment too. And I do think he gets painted as this guy that is just a red ass all the time. And he's just a jerk to his players, all this sort of stuff. I think there is a difference in a fine line between having elite standards and championship standards and being a jerk also. Because I don't view Belichick like that. I think a lot of players that played for him respect the hell out of him. I think a lot of them get annoyed with, the Patriot way and all that sort of stuff. But you know what? When you win at the end of the day, it works. It didn't work the last few seasons in New England, and now he's gone. That's what happens. And Brian Flores, former coach of the Miami Dolphins, and obviously a Belichick disciple out in New England, I think tried to instill some of that. But he's not Bill Belichick. And it didn't work. And you instilled no confidence in your young quarterback. You have to know your personnel. And the most important position on the field, you need to keep that guy's mentals in check. Now, sometimes it is being a hard ass on them. I'm not a tough love guy. I'm not, I'm a wrap your arm around your shoulder kind of a guy. I will do that. If you need to get checked at some point, though, like no hard feelings type of stuff, that's fine. But you got to know, if you are a head coach, if you're a manager, if you're just a boss, if you're running a lemonade stand, I don't know. You just got to know your people, your players, your staff, what makes them tick. That's why getting a relationship with these people early on, take them out to dinner, do all this sort of stuff. Do some flashcards if you need to, some spark notes on these guys. It's really not rocket science when it comes to this stuff. And I'm not a therapist. I'm not a psychologist. I'm not a psychiatrist, any of that stuff. I just know if you know what makes someone tick and gets them going, lean into that. And if you're doing the opposite and you're trying to berate them, you're trying to do this to unlock something, that's not the case for everyone. And Brian Flores, the more and more I hear about that is just an absolute dumpster fire. Mike McDaniel is already doing great things out in Miami, and we'll see this year. And I'm not saying all this because I think Tua is going to be some amazing quarterback or anything like that. I actually think, I don't know who the Miami Dolphins were, betting against when it came to like the asking price, or bidding against, I should say, when it came to Tua Tagovailoa. I think he's a slightly good quarterback. I don't know if he's ever going to be great. And maybe I'm wrong on that, and maybe he shuts me up. But I just thought that was a very interesting take from Tua, because he's had a very tumultuous NFL career. Much like Brock Purdy, who I want to get into on the other side as well. He's had a very interesting, and maybe tumultuous is too strong because he's had a lot of success early on. But this is his full offseason of health. Hasn't had Trent Williams. Hasn't had Brock Purdy. Took some shots last game, albeit small ones. Probably going to play against the Raiders. We're going to hear from Matt Barrows, who joined Steiny and Evan Giddings filling in for Guru yesterday. Matt Barrows of The Athletic on the River Islands guest line. So we'll hear from that. Plus more of your calls, more of your texts. I got more Bill Belichick I want to wrap up on the other side, too, as we hand it off to Bonte and Chasky. One more segment to go on the pregame show, though, with Joe Spadoni at 95.7 The Game.
Hi, I'm John with Jack's Restaurant and Bar. My brothers and I recorded our first commercial a while back. Got a little chaotic, so I'm here today.
What's going on here, bro? Are you recording a commercial without us?
Guys, no, I'm just trying
to what? Take all the credit for our half-pound all-natural burgers?
Or the best fish and chips
or
around?
7 mac and cheeses and 14 sandwiches, including a French dip that will change your life?
Or homemade meatloaf, pot roast, and next-level lamb
chops? Or that people can order takeout and delivery by visiting ilovejacks.com?
Guys, no, I'm
just went behind our backs.
I knew he would.
Wait till we tell Mom.
Oh, please don't tell Mom.
Real family, great food, ilovejacks.com.
The piping in your house is responsible for providing a safe, reliable flow.
You don't have to speak teen to be a perfect parent. Thousands of teens in foster care will love you just the same. Visit adoptuskids.org. Brought to you by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services, Adopt U.S. Kids, and the Ad Council.
Now, back to the pregame show on 95.7 The Game.
For the White Sox, Chapman to deep left field. It is gone halfway up the bleachers. Matt Chapman, his 20th home run of the year, makes it 5-1.
You can tell by his first swing, he was seeing this guy well.
Dave Fleming, Mike Krukow on the call for NBC Sports Bay Area. Giants get the win 5-3 over the Chicago White Sox. They improved to 64-63 on the season. Get a sweep of the White Sox. Maybe we'll start taking you seriously just a little bit, just because the White Sox aren't really to be taken. The White Sox, by the way, as I just step on myself, they're 4 losses away. 4 losses away from being 30-100. Let me say that one more time. The Chicago White Sox are 4 losses away. If they lose 4 in a row, they will be 30-100. Oh my God. Jesus. Oh.
This fish is stinking from the head up. It's a wrap.
Thank you, Priest. They need a Priest right now. Oh, I don't care if it's in Palo Alto or Chicago. God, they need something. Oh, you got to laugh through the pain, though. I'm there as a fan, too. Got to laugh through the pain. Always. Always. Speaking of laughing through the pain, it's probably what Brock Purdy had to do last year, right? You know, get all the way to the NFC Championship. You're having this miraculous run. Broken, elbow. Night. Done. And then, you got Sam Darnold, you got Trey Lance. How's the quarterback competition going to go? And then he has an MVP caliber season. That's what he does. And now with the full season of starters, reps, full off season, I should say, he is primed to have a fat payday heading into next season. Huge one. The expectations I have of Brock Purdy are that he's going to do more of the same. But what if there are no Brandon Ayuks and Trent Williamses? How does that change? If Christian McCaffrey is banged up early, how does that change? I'm very interested to see how he responds to adversity. Now, as a fan, you never want that. You want everyone to stay healthy. You never want that. But I am curious to see how he responds to some adversity there when he doesn't have a certain starting cast, because during that 3-game losing streak last year, there was no Debo. There was no Trent Williams at times. And then you saw the struggles. Oh, yeah, Minnesota. Oh, but he was concussed, it turns out. So we can't really blame that pick on him. Okay. I give so much respect for what Brock has done. I'm not doing the excuse making on his behalf anymore, because I actually think he's a good quarterback. You only start doing the excuse making when you're trying to protect a quarterback because you don't believe he's elite, but you keep trying to tell everyone else is. No, Brock Purdy is a top 10 quarterback in the NFL right now. There's no excuses for him this year. I expect him to ball out. I don't say that flippantly either. You can only say that about, again, 10 guys, maybe. And maybe some of those guys take a step back this year, and that vaults Brock even higher. And again, this is all barring health, but when healthy, I expect greatness out of Patrick Mahomes. I expect greatness out of Joe Burrow. I expect greatness out of Matt Stafford when he's healthy. He's proved that. Guys won a Super Bowl. Can only say that about a couple guys in the NFL right now. Hell, starters in the NFL, isn't it only those two that I just mentioned, Mahomes and Stafford? If I'm missing someone else, please let me know. Nick Foles retired, so he's not a starter anymore either. I did love this yesterday. Adam Amin on the River Islands guest line talking about fans and their greatest insecurities. And Adam Amin, Fox Sports, also works for NBC Sports Chicago, does a hell of a job one of the great young broadcasters we have in the game today. Him alongside Mark Sanchez doing the Saints-Niners game at Levi Stadium as Kevin Burkhardt and Tom Brady were doing the ghost booth during their practice run for the real thing here in a couple weeks. But here's Adam Amin on the station yesterday talking about fans' greatest insecurities, and I thought this was very well put in regards to preseason football.
I think the preseason has a tendency to magnify our biggest insecurities about our fandom and has a tendency to also magnify our biggest hopes about our fandom. I think that's a fair assessment for any fan of any team in the NFL. I think it's very obvious in the preseason because it's the sport we're the most starved for.
I could not have put it better myself. That's why preseason football is just so dumb at the end of the day. And Brock Purdy playing without any of his starters was also just dumb. It was. If you're going to start him, make sure someone else that he's actually going to throw to, build some sort of rapport. That's why the Pearsall injury sucks, because he would be playing in all these games. But he can't get that rapport right now with his quarterback. And that's going to set him back in his development. And then you just wonder if he can't get back onto the field, like, what's next for him? Then there's just another bust at wide receiver, and he's just another Ronnie Bell. It's another Dante Pettis. It's another Danny Gray. We don't want that. We want them to hit. Just like you hit on Brandon Ayuk, you hope you retain some guy like that. You know, you want to retain those guys. Keep them. Here's Matty Barrows, The Athletic, yesterday again, River Island's guest line, on with Steiny and Evan Giddings on why the 49ers started Purdy without some of his starters around him.
It's a good question. I think in hindsight, maybe you don't play him. I just don't understand what they got out of it that was so productive. I feel like the risks outweigh any gains. But, Purdy's point was that, you practice all the time and you get into rhythms, but it's different in a game. And he was talking about the mental clock. And ironically, one of the things he wanted to work on was the mental clock about a pass rush and getting hit. I guess it was valuable in that regard. My point is that, he's going to play on Friday in Las Vegas, and he's going to play with a lot of the starters. Not every starter, but a lot more than played last night. So to me, that was, that's your warm-up.
Friday night, Raiders, Brock Purdy, the final warm-up. We'll see. We got a couple minutes here. And again, that was Matt Barrows of The Athletic. The talk of the town. The talk of everything yesterday on social. And no, I'm not talking about the DNC and Steve Kerr saying night-night to Donald Trump. We're not going to get into that. It's the Kirk Cousins birthday practice playlist. That's what it is. This is peak 2006 emo playlist, and it might be the greatest thing I've ever seen in my life. It's just so Kirk Cousins that I think the rest of the week on the Morning Roast, we're going to do our birthday playlists. Lubman, myself, Shasky, Bonte. We're going to do that the rest of the week. And I think we're going to start with Lubman today on the Morning Roast here in a couple minutes. But we'll do our top 5 because we have 5 rejoins with songs that we can use. So we'll limit it to that. But I think how many is here? I want to say there's 20 songs in this practice playlist for Kirk Cousins. I'm just going to start reading some of the names, the artists. Let's just do that. Jimmy Eat World, All American Rejects, Green Day, Fountains of Wayne, shout out Stacy's mom, that's the song. Blink-182, Good Charlotte, The Killers, Gym Class Heroes, Foo Fighters, Fall Out Boy, Maroon 5, All Time Low, Three Doors Down, and Yellow Card. It does not get more 2006 Vans Warped Tour than that. Like, I'm surprised Avril Lavigne wasn't on there. I'm surprised Nickelback wasn't on there. I know they're not emo, but that's just the time. You know what? I love me some Kirk Cousins. I don't even care. I don't. Should probably be the Raiders quarterback, for being honest, because they already got Michael Penix, the Falcons. Raiders should probably just go trade for him. They have the salary cap to do it. It makes sense. Shasky mentioned it like a month ago, and I'm there now. Just go get Kirk Cousins. Why not? What's it going to take, too? They're probably waiting to get off of him in that contract. They'll probably have to swallow some salary cap, but what, a 5th rounder, 4th rounder? Guy's old. Yeah, give me some Kirk. With Devontae, with Brock Bauer, like, He could be serviceable, way more serviceable than Gardner Minshew or Aiden O'Connell. I'm doing that in a heartbeat. Absolutely. The Middle's a banger. Move Along is a banger. Holiday's a banger. Stacy's Mom, All the Small Things, The Anthem, Mr. Brightside. The Best of You, Foo Fighters, yeah. Lifestyles of the Rich and the Famous. Come on, man. Sugar, We're Going Down. I might have to just put this playlist on my Spotify. I'm going to rock out to that later. We'll see if Bonta Hill feels the same about that, or it'll be called snitching music. We'll see. Morning Roast up next. Have a good day, everybody.
You're listening to 95.7 The Game, KGMZ FM in HD1 San Francisco on Odyssey Sports Station. Always live on the free Odyssey app, Twitch, and YouTube. Powered by First NorCal Credit Union.
How much love can someone have for a bathroom? Well, if you're a pro and you've used Floor & Decor, you've seen your clients light up with a job done right. And we want you to see that look again and again. So we have job lot quantities of tile, wood, and stone, the largest selection in stock, and all the brands pros trust, like Schluter, Mapei, and Laticrete. Your clients will love your work, and your work goes farther with Floor & Decor.
UCSF